Hi again, students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here in Western Canada. I hope that all of you are having an awesome start to your weekend. In this class, everybody, we are looking at IELTS listening, looking at part 3 and 4 of the listening, targeting the topics of zoos and roads. Everybody, this is a subscribers chat class. To join the chat, you must subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. It's a great idea. You get notifications of these live classes and about posts and vocabulary. So definitely do yourself a favor and subscribe to this channel. Welcome, Carolina, our chat moderator. She is here to help you. Dylan, Angel, good to see our members jumping in. Robert, Black Panther, nice to see our subscribers as well. This class, everybody, is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS. Check us out there. For general IELTS, visit us at gieltshelp.com. As I always say, these websites power these live lessons. We will use our website today for the listening audio. So to join the premium version, click that big red button that's right above my head there. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. We are an IDP affiliate. We're a British Council partner. We're an IELTS test registration center. You are in great hands with us. And for general IELTS students, it's the green background. Again, click that big red button to start your IELTS learning journey in the right way. Again, we will use these websites for the listening audio in momentarily. All right. Black Panther says, I want to get an overall band score of 9 in IELTS. What should I do? Black Panther, to get a band 9, it's possible. I've seen it done. I've done it. You need to not only master English, but master communication as well. So to get those really high band scores, like a perfect band 9, you have to focus on communication skills, on effectively comprehending and conveying information. And you have a lot of that on our websites. You can use the code HIGHX9 for a 10% discount on the website. You can also attach the apps Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help to the websites. You can follow us on Instagram, IELTS_AEHelp, GIELTS Help, for vocabulary and reels. And if you have questions, just send an email. My email is adrian@aehelp.com, admin@aehelp.com. Xavier, Diva, don't be nervous. You'll be fine. We're going to keep our fingers crossed that you do really well in your exam. Definitely let us know how it went. We love to hear feedback. Hi, Anna. Good to have you joining in. Students, Amazon does have our exam books if you want to just get the exams. AE Helps Academic IELTS, GE Helps General IELTS. Those books, you might want to get them even if you have the premium package if you want the paper version. Although to be environmentally friendly, I do suggest staying digital. All right, students. So right now, listening part 3, part 4, we will do the listening exam. I will discuss tips and strategies as we do the listening. And then tomorrow, we're going to have speaking part 2 for members and speaking part 3 for everyone. Make sure to check out our latest YouTube releases. Here's one for you from last week. There it is in the chat. That will help you with the speaking, that one. Listening strategies. Visualize. Become a part of the audio. Okay, so see the information. Okay, so remember from last week, we looked at the topics of part 3, part 4 of the listening. So here we have part 3. This is coming from our 4th exam. For those of you that have the premium package, it's CD4 track 3, and it is page, let's see here, it's page 12 in the book, in the second book, I I should say. Okay, so we remember that when we were reviewing these questions, you get some time to review questions before you hear the audio, which is fair. And you notice that you have these phrases here. So arguments against zoos. Okay, and then you have 3 choices here. And then in order to improve zoo conditions. Okay, so you have these kinds of phrases. Now, when you're thinking about this, so when you're in the real IELTS, you have to do active listening. We talked about active reading in the last class where you're actually making calculations and you're doing input, process, output type operations in your brain, right? So it's not just input, output, right? That's one of the big mistakes that students make in the listening is they go input, output. Okay, that's bad. Doesn't work very well. Okay, input, output. This is bad. So what I mean by input, output is you hear it like, okay, I'll give you an example of input, output. So you know, like, what is he talking? What is Adrian, a computer? I am a computer robot. Okay, what do I mean, right? What does it mean? So a good example of input, output type listening would be like where you have this question in order to improve the conditions for zoo animals. So the listener, the candidate, is like, okay, I'm going to listen for improve the conditions for zoo animals. As soon as I hear the person in the audio go, to improve the conditions for zoo animals, they must give more space. And then I'm going to be like, more space. Okay, that's input, output. All right, it's not effective for the IELTS. You will get a lot of questions wrong if you do that. All right, you're not just a funnel of information. You're a human being. You have a supercomputer inside of that beautiful head of yours that processes information. Okay, so in the IELTS exam, no, it's not input, output. Okay, what it should be is input. And like a supercomputer does, you should be like process, output. Okay. All right. So that's what it should be. Input, process, output. Okay. That's a very important part of this operation. Okay. What does it mean? What is Adrian saying? I am a computer super robot. Input, process, output. Correct answer. All right, so if I'm looking at this question, 25, in order to improve the zoo conditions for zoo animals, zoos must be held to something of animal treatment. Okay, so I'm looking at the whole element here, okay? And I know that here there must be a noun because it's of, okay? And must be held to is some kind of an action, so it has to be an actionable, okay? Must be held to better quality, makes sense with grammar and the information. So I'm not just paying attention here to keywords that are going to jump into my mind as an output, but I'm looking at the concept, I'm looking at the grammar form, I'm looking at what I know as well from my experiences of zoos. So I'm thinking better quality. Okay, so we're that kind of a processing machine. All right, make sense, everybody? Yes, input, process, output, not input, output. Okay, you will not do well in the IELTS if you are attempting the test from input, output type of strategy, like skimming, scanning for keywords and listening for keywords. It's not going to be enough. All right, so keep that in mind. All right. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to listen, input, output. Students, zoos. How many of you have ever visited a zoo? Who's been to a zoo? Okay, it's important. If I see this, this topic, the first thought in my mind certainly will be zoos. Okay. Have you been to a zoo? If yes, you should picture and recall your experience, your thoughts and opinions of your visit. Okay. Carolina says, yes, I have. Robert Zaw says, yes, I have. Amira says, no. Du says, yes. Angel says several times, yes, I have. Okay, well, then it sounds like many of you have been to a zoo. So what were your thoughts when you were at the zoo? What were your thoughts? What did you think? Who were you there with? What happened? Okay, seriously, just in a nutshell, tell me about this. So Domenico says, yes, I have. Jeannie Wang says, of course. Alexi says, that was boring. Okay, why? Okay, always think of the why, Alexi. So why was it boring? Okay. Du says, I was feeding the giraffe some carrots. Very good, Du. Yeah, nice. You got to feed the... I've fed the giraffes before. We had to go up on these stairs because they're so tall to give them the carrots. Okay. Bernice says, not so good because of captivity. Yeah, so they're captivity. Bia says, the weather was not nice. All right, bad weather. Sure. Robert Zalin says, adorable animals like rabbits and monkeys. Okay, sure. Okay. All right. Angel says, I'm into animals, so it was amazing to see them so closely. Yeah, you don't really get the chance for that too much in the wild. The birds were chirping. Fong says, elephants and tigers. I have to ask, the sad eyes of animals were heartbreaking. Yes, I've had that experience, Black Panther. Yes. Okay. Amra says, my ability to touch the monkeys was incredible. Anybody learn any interesting information about animals while at the zoo? I don't know about you. I'm not like crazy into reading every detail of every animal, but I definitely learned quite a bit. Like one interesting fact that I learned is there are at least 5 subspecies of tigers. Before I went to the zoo, I always thought there were 2. I thought there were Bengal tigers and Siberian tigers, but no, there's more. There's 5 subspecies of tigers for sure. So, yeah. Anybody learn some interesting tidbit or piece of information that you never knew before where you're like, wow, really? Okay. So, yeah. All right. Okay. Angel fishes are monogamous. Wow, Dylan, they only have one wife or husband. Interesting. Monogamous means one partner in life. Okay, the opposite is polygamy. Okay, multiple partners. Yeah, ducks also are monogamous. I had no idea that angelfish are monogamous. That's interesting. Okay. All right. So think about that, and this should be happening instantaneously, like within seconds. All of this information should come to mind. Domenico had a chance to feed crocodiles. Interesting fact I learned about crocodiles in a zoo are crocodiles can survive by feeding just once every 2 months. Can you imagine? I'd be so hungry by the end of that. 2 months of no eating. They sure don't eat a lot. Contrary to popular belief, crocodiles do not need to eat a ton of food. They have very slow metabolisms. So crocodiles can survive by feeding just once every 2 months. They're very patient hunters. Okay. You learn these interesting facts in zoos. Students, let's get into our listening. So keep all of that information in mind. You want to prime your brain. You want to listen actively. I'm going to put on my headphones. I highly recommend using a headset if you got it. We're going to listen. We're going to answer the questions. Put your answers not in the chat. Anywhere else but in the chat. I don't recommend tattooing them on your leg or something like that, but on a piece of paper or in a separate document. Don't put them in the chat. Don't confuse others. We'll go through the answers together at the end. We'll talk strategy. We'll talk about how to get these answers. Follow with me. You will notice I will do a couple of interesting steps as we do the listening, and I will explain those afterwards as well. Okay, so for this listening test, again, we're using our website. These are original practice exams, just like the Cambridge exams. They're tested, developed, identical, same style of questions. Okay, this would be a paper-based exam variant, of course. All right. Do says, if you spill your answers, I will spoil Avatar, quote Adrian. Yes, you do remember. Okay, so students, this is CD4, track 3. Off we go to the website, into our My Student account. This is only available to premium users of the website, of course. And then we go to our audio CDs. We go to CD 4, track 3, listen and answer.
Now turn to section 3. Take some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Listening section 3. You will hear a panel discussion on the ethics of zoos. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Welcome everyone to this very special evening. Tonight's speakers are two distinguished scholars. Dr. Henry Gergen from the University of Edinburgh is a philosopher and animal rights advocate. Dr. Gloria Mesto from Trinity College Dublin is an animal conservationist. Welcome to you both. The topic of tonight's discussion is the ethics of zoos. Here is the fundamental question. Is it right to house animals in zoos, or should they live freely in nature instead?
As an animal rights advocate and theorist, I have clear views on this question. To me, it is fundamentally wrong to lock up animals for human enjoyment. I believe that in many important respects, animals are persons, and should be afforded many of the rights that human beings have. Chief among these is the right to liberty and the freedom to achieve one's desired ends in life. Clearly, these rights are abrogated by imprisonment within the zoo. Moreover, in many cases, animals in zoos are treated inhumanely and are subject to confinement in extremely small spaces. While regulation of zoos may help mitigate some of these problems, I maintain that zoos are fundamentally unethical.
I certainly understand Dr. Gergen's position, and I do agree on some of his points, most notably that zoos must be held to higher standards of animal treatment than they are currently. But my colleague fails to consider an important point in favor of zoos. The conservation of species is an incredibly important endeavor, and zoos are on the front line in the battle to save hundreds of species of animals around the world. Zoos often employ some of the leading experts in the field who are best equipped to carry out this important task. It is for this reason that I believe zoos are justified. Though they may not be perfect, I believe zoos and the experts they employ play a critical role in the conservation of species, and therefore are ethically permissible.
Dr. Gergen, do you have a rebuttal to that point?
Yes, certainly. While I appreciated Dr. Mester's position as a conservationist, and I do appreciate the work she and others like her do for animal welfare around the world, I must disagree with her. While zoos certainly do play a role in animal conservation, it is not because they are zoos that they play this role.
Dr. Gergen, can you clarify that point for the audience?
Of course. What I mean is this. It is not inherent in the idea of a zoo that they conserve animals. The notions are separable. You can have an animal conservation effort that is not a zoo, just as you can have a zoo that has nothing to do with conservation. So while it is true that some zoos act as animal preserves, this does not justify the existence of zoos, since we could easily separate out these animal preserves from zoos themselves.
Fair point. But such animal preserves would still have the associated problems of poor treatment and unsuitable living conditions.
Yes, but at least it would be in an effort towards a positive end. The animals would not be captive forever, and they would not be captive merely for a human audience.
You now have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen to the rest of the interview and answer questions 27 to 30.
What about the enjoyment and education that zoos provide, especially to young people? Perhaps individuals like yourselves were inspired to become animal advocates by attending a zoo when you were a child.
That is a really interesting point. I was indeed inspired by going to a zoo when I was a child. What do you think, Dr. Gergen?
It is an interesting thought. What if the positive outcomes caused by inspiring people like us to do good in the future outweighed the harms done to zoo animals? I'm not sure. I would have to think about it more, but it's certainly an interesting question.
Well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. In closing, I'm not sure how much progress we've made, but is it safe to say that we can all agree that zoos, at the very least, must do their best to improve the treatment of animals and the conditions in which the animals live?
I would certainly agree with that, as I'm sure my friends would also agree.
That is the end of section 3. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
All right, students, in that half minute, you should always be checking your answers to make sure that you didn't make any spelling mistakes, that you didn't miss any easy points, that you didn't make any major mistakes in logic, like not paying attention to the word not for some negative aspect or thinking about the wrong person, right? Here it's obviously very important to have a clear idea that Gloria Mesto is the female speaker and Henry Gergen is the male speaker. Their voices are different, their accents are different. IELTS is usually British, but in this case, we've got British, the host. We've got Gloria Mesto, who is Canadian. It's a Canadian English. And then we have Henry Gergen, who is New Zealander, New Zealand English. Quite different, right? So don't be shocked. Don't be surprised if you hear a different accent besides the British. And even British accents tend to vary. So from different parts of Britain, you will hear different accents. And you can also, of course, hear Australian accents as well, often. So British, Australian, quite common, okay? So pay attention to that, everybody. Okay, let's go through the answers, and I'll explain some of these strategies as well. So question 21. Now, question 21 here has 2 parts. You have 1 and 2. It's like 2 subparts to this, okay? So in the paper-based exam, what you'd want to do here is you'd want to do it like this. So 1 is A, yeah. and then 2 is B, okay? And if you wrote that in the paper-based exam, then you would get that correct. Now in the computer-based, you would probably just link them or drag and drop them, so it's a little bit simpler. You don't make mistakes as easily. But 1A, 2B, if you got that, then you should be okay. All right? Okay. So you need both, of course, to get number 21 correct. So you would just have one question space here in your paper-based exam. It would look like that. Okay? All right. If you got that correct, great. It was a fairly simple start. Then you had this one here. This is one of those multiple choice questions that are very popular in the exam. So it's like multiple choice, but multiple answers. So you have 6 possible choices, A, B, C, D, E, F. And you have to choose 3 of those choices. Now here, importantly, it's arguments against zoos, so why they are not good. And these arguments are given by Henry Gergen. Okay, so here you notice that I wasn't actually looking at the answers to do this, and I didn't actually answer this at all. Okay, instead what I did is I took notes, and you can do that in the paper-based and in the computer-based exam. You do have note paper, you do have a pencil. If you don't, something's wrong with your test. It's not being done the way that it should be. Okay. So when I took the notes, this is what I got down. Wrong. They're fundamentally persons. They're treated inhumanely. They're imprisoned in small spaces, and it's unethical. So those are the 5 pieces that I got. So now I'm just matching my notes to the correct answers, okay? It's extremely difficult, nearly impossible, to try to answer these questions by looking at these answers, okay? So here I have treated inhumanely. Okay, treated inhumanely is very clearly given here, okay? So the animals are treated inhumanely. So that is a definite. It's almost word for word what I got here, okay? Animals are persons. Yeah, they're fundamentally persons. I got that as well here. Okay, so B looks like it's good. C, the conservation of species. If you understand what that means, you will realize that that's definitely wrong. Animals should not be in prison. Okay, prison and imprisoned, not exactly the same, right? The animals are not in prison, so that's kind of weird. Animals are human beings and should be treated equally. They don't say that. They say animals are persons, they're personalities, they're individuals, okay? They're not human beings. Human beings and persons are different. So E doesn't make a lot of sense. And then F is they are fundamentally wrong. Fundamentally wrong. I have wrong, fundamentally, unethical. That looks like it's right. So the correct answers for this question are A, B, and F in any order. Okay? It's worth 3 points, 22, 23, 24. So if you got any of these, then you pick up a point. If you got all of these, you pick up 3 points. If you got 2 of these, you pick up 2 points. Okay? All right? So they are fundamentally wrong, is what it says. Here you have to listen to the expert, okay? You can't just make up your own knowledge, but you have to use your own logic, all right? So all of this was from notes, taking notes, okay? Not from staring at the questions. It's very tricky, if not impossible, and it will confuse you, and you might miss the next question that's coming below. So be very careful. Okay, so the key strategy for multiple choice questions like this is notes. Take notes, okay? And use logic, of course. All right, number 25. In order to improve the conditions for zoo animals, zoos must be held to, and they said this very clearly, okay? It was emphasized. Listen for this emphasis. Amra says higher standards. Bogdan agrees. I agree. So higher standards. Okay. Remember what I said at the beginning? Better quality, my prediction. So that was right. Okay. While zoos, number 26, while zoos do conserve animal life, Dr. Gergen argues that this function could also be performed by animal what? It's one word here. And I don't know how many of you saw this, but I actually put like times 2 and then I put ... times 3. So they actually gave you the answer 3 times for this blank. Sometimes people think like IELTS is mean and they just want you to fail and it's just a business. They just want to make a lot of money. No. Businesses function on human needs and desires. So humans fuel business. The need for good English, the need for good communication is the fuel for the success of IELTS. So they're trying to test you like in real life. And in real life, you will often hear the subject or the focus of the conversation 2 or 3 times. And in this case, in this paragraph of information, they give you that 2 or 3 times. They say da 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 da. You only need to catch it once to be like, oh, that's the answer. Okay. Now, there is a bit of a tricky part. You do have to pay attention. IELTS is a thinking exam. While zoos do conserve animal life, Dr. Gergen argues that this function could also be performed by animal preserves. Okay, you don't see the "and" here. Animal preserves, like many nouns, are countable, so there's no "and" here. So you need the S, okay, to get it correct. Animal preserves. Pay attention to that S sound and pay attention to the logic of plurals, singulars. I see a lot of preserve, but I only see IELTS with Umejan have the actual S at the end. Theory has it. Theory has preserves. And Mukamaduruzi has preserves. Amra Fuang has preserves. So we have some good answers there. Okay? And pay attention to those plurals. 27, enjoyment and the questions or the answers came fast here. Education. Students, there is no rule in the IELTS listening that the answers come every 20 seconds. Okay, that's silly. There's no such rule. Sometimes the answers come faster together. Sometimes you have to wait and listen a little bit for the answer. So it depends on the topic, the situation, the exam. Sometimes you get 3, 4, 5 answers within 1 or 2 minutes. Sometimes you have to wait 1 or 2 minutes just to get one or listen to one answer. So it's all about good listening. Okay. So here preserves, and in this one it actually came, pay attention to the audio instructions always, not the questions. They said questions 1 to 26 and then 27 to 30. So they actually split this question type with the audio. Okay, that can happen. All right. Okay. So enjoyment and education are 2 key positive attributes of zoos. Okay. 28. According to Dr. Gergen, does the value of inspiring young people outweigh the negative aspects of zoos? Yes, no, he is unsure. A, B, or C. Very good. With multiple choice, you're always listening for the answer. So he says, I'm not sure. I'd have to think about that one. Number 29, what is the interesting question? When you see the quotation marks, students, that means you're going to hear exactly that phrase in the audio. So listen for the interesting question. That's an interesting question. Okay. 29, according to Fuang, is B, and Fuang, Bogdan, Saloni. Anna, you're right. It's an interesting question whether the inspirational value of zoos outweighs their negative aspects. What do the guests agree on? And this is actually by the narrator. So the narrator says, can we all agree that? And the two people are like, yeah, no, that's fair. Let's agree on that. I'm listening for the answers. Okay. I heard them all agree on improving the condition of zoos. Zoo conditions need to be improved. Yeah. Let's not be cheap. Let's build a big zoo. Let's fund it by the government. Eventually, if we keep going this way, that's all the animals will have, are just big zoos. I'm gonna cry. No, but seriously, that's terrible. So yeah, they need to be improved. Okay, students, what did you get? What was your score from 10? Now, in part 3, ideally, you're getting 6 or more. If you're over 6, good. If you're under 6, yeah, not so good. If you need a 6.57 in your IELTS exam, you need to aim for a consistent 6 in part 3, okay? It's a more challenging part, so it might be unrealistic to try to get a perfect 10. Hey, if you can, that's great. But you should aim for at least 6. So 9 out of 10 is fantastic. Anna, 6 is the cutoff. It's the threshold. Theory, 8 is good. Miroslava, 9 is good. Hilda, Mary, 7 is good. Domenico, 8 is fantastic. Alexi, 5 is under the cutoff, okay? So you have to see what's going on. Check the transcripts, check the answers, listen again. Of course, if you're getting less than 8, you should listen to the audio again. Find out what happened, okay? All right, let's jump into part 4. About loggerhead turtles. Am I doing the right listening for you guys? Maybe I'm not. But you know what? Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. Let's see. No, zoos and roads. No, it is loggerhead turtles. I thought it was roads, but no. Okay. All right. Exam knows best. Okay, so let's go to part 4. Roads, I think, will be next week or the week after. Okay. All right. Let's do that. Yeah, I know, Angel, we didn't do it. I was making sure we're on the right exam. I think I was looking at a little bit different one yesterday. All right. Follow the exam. That's the best rule. Okay. So we're going to hop back to the website. I'm going to put on my headphones here. And we will just jump right into it. Okay, students, so here we go with part 4. Let's get into it. And by the way, even if you repeat a listening, that's really smart. You shouldn't just be jumping to new exams every single time. You should test to see how your listening is improving, okay? All right. Okay, here we go.
Now turn to section 4. Take some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Listening section 4. You will hear a professor discussing the migration of loggerhead turtles. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
It's late April on the South Atlantic coast of North America, and one of the most remarkable journeys in all of nature is about to begin. The loggerhead turtle, whose natural habitat is the open ocean, has to seek dry land to lay its eggs. The sandy beaches of Florida provide a perfect nesting spot, with soft sand that can be dug up by the persistent flippers of the female loggerhead. Over the course of the next 3 months, hundreds of thousands of eggs will be laid on such beaches. Many of these eggs will become the victim of predators, but many will survive to hatching, which occurs 2 months after being laid. Hatching marks the beginning of an incredible journey for the loggerhead turtle. Almost immediately upon hatching, the young turtles, known as hatchlings at this point, head for the open ocean. The ocean, while full of its own dangers and predators, provides a relative safe haven for the hatchlings away from many of the predators that live near the shoreline. These young turtles embark upon a journey that will take them upwards of 13,000 kilometres around the North Atlantic. Many animals make large and incredible journeys, but what makes the loggerhead turtle's migration so notable is the speed at which the animal moves. While many bird species make similar journeys, they move at velocities much faster than the loggerhead turtle. This slow-moving beast travels at the remarkably sluggish pace of only 3/4 of a kilometre per hour. This means it will take the turtle a minimum of 17,000 hours to complete its migratory journey, not even taking into account stops for feeding and sleep. To put that number in perspective, 17,000 hours is approximately 2 years of non-stop swimming. That the loggerhead turtle makes this journey alone makes it all the more impressive. From birth to adolescence to adulthood, the loggerhead turtle is a solitary traveller. But how does it know where to go? Doesn't it need a parent to help it know the route? This is where the loggerhead becomes even more fascinating. Recent research tells us the loggerhead uses the magnetic field of the Earth to determine its migration route. Because the Earth's magnetic field differs in each location around the world, the loggerhead turtle can use it as a kind of innate roadmap, illuminating the way to where they need to be. One example of this is the behaviour they exhibit when they encounter the particular magnetic field off the coast of Portugal. Instead of continuing north, towards the cold waters of northern Europe, they sense the magnetic field and turn around, instead heading for the warmer waters of northwestern Africa. And it is not just that the loggerhead turtle has a sort of innate compass. They are able to determine, with surprising precision, their latitude and longitude. They know exactly when to zig and zag to optimise their migratory pattern. Even with their incredible ability to know where they are and where they need to be, the survival rate of migratory loggerhead turtles is incredibly low. In fact, only about 1 in 4,000 hatchlings makes it back to the beach in eastern Florida to mate and lay its eggs. However, that any make it at all is an incredible achievement and one of the great natural wonders of navigation.
That is the end of section 4. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
And again, students, check those answers. All right. Let's do the answers together. Okay. Now, some of you are saying it says part 1 and part 2. No, it should be, it's part 3 and part 4 here, for sure. All right. Okay, so for some people, they feel number 4 is the easiest, the lecture. For some of you, if you're university students, that's also because you're used to hearing lectures, right? For some people, it can be quite challenging. So the IELTS listening does increase in difficulty, part 1, 2, 3, 4, but that doesn't always mean that part 4 will be more difficult for you than part 3. It will also depend on the topic. It will also depend on what kind of English you listen to, lecture English, lots of TED Talks, for example. So those are all good for part 4. Let's take a look at the questions here, okay? So here we have a flow chart. It's step by step. It's very visual. IELTS does love these flow charts for either part 3 or part 4. Here we're talking about the loggerhead turtle. So the loggerhead turtle has to seek dry land to lay its eggs. The sandy beaches of, that's right everybody, Florida, provide the perfect nesting location. Usually when they give you names, there will be names that are relatively easy to spell, like Florida. You can use all capitals. It's a name. It's the name of a U.S. state. So you have to use the capital F, home to Disney World, of course. All right. After hatching, the loggerhead turtle immediately heads for the ocean. The ocean is safer than the shore because it has fewer. So here again, a noun. It's logical. And the answer is predators. Very good. Yeah, it has fewer predators. The turtles embark on a journey that will take them how far? Okay. Now I paid attention to kilometers here because obviously that's a measure. It's a unit. So that will take them 13,000 kilometers. The easiest answer here is 13,000. 13,000 kilometers, not 30. Okay. By the way, students, why would 30 really not be a good answer? Okay, I saw 130,000 there. Okay. So sometimes 15, 50, or 13, 30 get confused. Why would it be incorrect to confuse 30 here? Bogdan says it's too long. Bogdan, why is it too long? I agree with you. It's too long. But why is it too long? Dylan says the Atlantic is not that big. I'm not sure, Dylan. I think if we swim all the way around the Atlantic, it could be that long. But likely not. Why would it likely not be 30? Yes, you can. Carolina, you can write 13K. Absolutely. K is for 1,000. Yep. 13,000 written like this is the best, though, Carolina, but you could write 13K. What's the circumference of the Earth? This is a number most of us should learn in elementary school. Circumference means the longest distance around the Earth. So if we're thinking about the Earth and the Earth is here, what's the distance around the Earth? What's this circumference? What's the distance of that? It's not 44,000. It's not 13,000. Okay. It's, I think some of you are looking it up. So you figure it's 40,075 at its longest. It's definitely not 64,000. I thought that it was closer to 24,000. That was my thought. But maybe I'm off. Maybe it's 40,000. Anyway, 24, 40, doesn't matter. 30,000 would be like around the Earth, right? For the loggerhead. So if you know that distance, roughly even, if you don't remember exactly, like I don't, I thought it was 24. But anyway, if you don't remember it, I'm sure some of you Googled it. That's why you got the 40,075. Then you realize that, wait a second, 30,000 is like, it's like around the Earth. What kind of animal would circumnavigate the Earth, right? It's 24,000 miles. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, American, right? Always confusing it with the American. Turtle is a good swimmer, says Du. So 30,000 would logically not make sense. The reason I'm telling you this is because you should always be using logic, right? So it's highly unlikely here that the turtle is circumnavigating the Earth. Circumnavigate means to go around the Earth. Circumnavigate. So they're not circumnavigating the Earth, right? All right. Romelia, ideally it should be written in numbers, not letters. Okay. All right. While long migratory journeys are fairly commonplace in nature, what makes the loggerhead's journey especially notable is the extremely what pace that it travels at. So here we have an adjective, and the correct adjective here is sluggish. That's right. Very good, Lexi. Sluggish pace that it travels at. Okay. All right. The entire journey is approximately how much continuous swimming? Very good. 2 years. Sluggish, by the way, some of you are asking, like, why is it sluggish? Sluggish equals slow. If you put slow, slow would be correct too. They use the word slow and they use the word sluggish, so both are okay. A slug, as I've drawn for you a few times in the past, if you've seen this listening before, slug is a snail without a house. So if any of you watch SpongeBob SquarePants, then it's like Gary's a snail, and a slug has no house when they're bigger. Okay? It's a snail's pace. Exactly. That's another expression, a snail's pace. Sluggish. Du has found the snail emoji. Very good, Fuang. I was hoping somebody would get that emoji going. Okay. We say slow like a turtle as well, right? So we use the turtle as an expression also. Slow as a turtle. Okay, slugs and turtles. Yes, iconic of slow pace. Okay, so now we had this fill in the paragraph or complete the paragraph. This was really fast. There are some keywords that you might be able to catch here, like impressive, but you really have to just read quickly and pay attention to content, okay? So as incredible as the loggerhead turtle's journey is, what makes it even more impressive is that the loggerhead is a, what is it? That's right, it's a solitary traveler. Very good. Solitary means alone. So, can you imagine swimming, Bogdan, if you thought, or Alexei, if you thought the zoo was boring, imagine swimming in the Atlantic Ocean for 13,000 kilometers for 2 years by yourself. I kind of get bored of swimming sometimes in the pool when I'm swimming for an hour by myself. I'd be a terrible turtle. I do not want to be born a turtle in another life. That would be not my first choice for my personality. Although, you know, snorkeling, I like it. Seeing all those colorful fish, that would be cool. But I'd get a little bit bored. Carolina, lovely tortoise there. Okay, so solitary. Solitary means alone. Solitary life or a life of solitude. Repeat these words, students. Life of solitude. A solitary life. It means you're living alone. Humans don't do well. Traversing. Traversing means crossing the open ocean on its own for years at a time. Scientific research has in recent years told us that it is through a connection with the Earth's. Now I marked it here for you as well. Again, it was a bit tricky, but they said it 3 times. That's right, Amra. That's right, Alexi. That's right, theory. It's the magnetic field of the Earth that turtles use. So magnetic field is the correct answer. Always read, when you review your answers, make sure to read the entire section here. So scientific research has in recent years told us that it is through a connection with the Earth's magnetic field that the turtles find their way around the ocean. For example, the turtles are able to sense something off the coast of Now this is going to be a place. It's the coast of. The coast means the beach, the shoreline. Okay, coast, shoreline. Capital because it's a name. Portugal. That's right. It is Portugal. That makes them change their direction and head for Northwest Africa instead of the cold waters of the North Atlantic. Possessing more than a simple compass, the loggerhead can innately sense its something and longitude. These words are very useful to know in English. For maps, for directions, for if you're ever lost in the world or out at sea. That is your latitude and longitude. Yes. Latitude. Okay. So when you have the Earth, everybody, latitude, longitude. Okay. Yes, the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. And in the middle, you have your equator. Okay. All right. So correct answer there was latitude. Last one. You had to do a bit of math. Approximately what percentage of hatchlings make it back to the breeding ground in Florida? The speaker said 1 in 4,000. Oh, these poor turtles. Ugh, it's horrible. 1 in 4,000. That's not a lot. Not a lot at all. I feel so sorry for them. They're so cute when they're tiny. And 3,999 of them perish? Are you kidding me? That's horrible. Owan is shedding a tear for those tiny little loggerhead turtles. 1 over 4,000 with correct math will come out to 0.025%. A is the correct answer, right? So thinking exam, IELTS is not a, remember what I said at the beginning? IELTS is not an input-output. This is another example of input, process, output, right? It's not a quarter, Elizabeth. It's a lot less than a quarter. It's not even a 400th. It's a 1/4000th of them all. Yeah, it's no wonder they're starting to perish from the earth. Okay, again, students, just like with part 3, you're looking to get at least 6 out of 10, okay, or more for those higher band scores. All right. Okay. Alexi, 8 out of 10 is good. 10 out of 10 is good. Students, especially if you were here last class, you can add up your marks on our website. At the bottom, there's a score calculator. Okay, I'll put this in the chat. It's you can check it out with me here, www.ahelp.com score calculator. Okay, you can check that out. So you can put 35. If you got 35 in this listening exam, you'd have a band 8. If you got 34, like Amra, you'd have a band 7.5. So that 1 mark, Amra, is the difference between a 7.5 and an 8. Okay. Domenico, 38 is just 1 off of a band 9, so it's an 8.5. Sherpa, a 30 is a band 7. Do 32 is a 7.5. Okay. So that's how it goes. 33, Mukhammadruzi, 33 is a 7.5. Okay, good job. Anna, 25 is a band 6. Okay. All right, so that score calculator is there for you. I'm sure everybody sees those numbers changing. It's just one of the many tools on the website. Students, absolutely join our premium IELTS package to get all of these practice exams, interactive courses, app for your phone, score calculator, etc., etc. Just tons and tons of help on the website. Make sure to use it. Click that big red button that's right above my head there, right there. It's a one-time payment. Alexi, thank you so much for moderating. Thank you, members, for your support. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you have questions about the listening, don't be shy. Send me an email. General IELTS students, it's this website here. Join by clicking the red button there. Tomorrow, everybody, I am back with Speaking Part 2, Speaking Part 3, where we will talk with our viewers. We will discuss strategies. We will practice Part 2 cue card responses to get those band 9s. In the meantime, use English as much as possible. Have fun with it. Read, listen, speak, write. ahelp.com, gieltshelp.com. I'm Adrian, and I'm happy to help you pass and succeed in your IELTS test. You're very welcome, Angel. You're very welcome, everybody. Have an awesome rest of your day. Chin up, looking forward, and believe in yourself. Step number 1 to success. Bye for now, everybody. I look forward to our class tomorrow. Until then, I'm Adrian. I'm signing out from Victoria. Bye for now.